And when we talk about criminal justice, I'll tell you a story. We did a meeting on this. Actually, Senator Turner was there with me. We did it in Iowa a couple of months ago. We had a couple of guys there, remarkable men who had served prison time. And one guy said, you know, I was in jail, and then on one day somebody said to me, oh, by the way, you're going to be released tomorrow, and here's $75, lots of luck. He ended up back in jail. We need to understand that if we want to cut the rates of recidivism, we need to make sure that people have the education and the jobs they need to find the good life in civil society. Now, my dad came to this country at the age of 17 from Poland without a nickel in his pocket. He never made much money. Dropped out of high school. My mom graduated high school. So I am a little bit sensitive to the issue of immigration. And I want everybody here to know that in America today, we have 11 million people come to this country to try to get a little bit better life for themselves and their children. And what we're seeing now is a horrendous level of bigotry and racism in attacking these people. When you have people like Trump saying that Mexicans are rapists or criminals, that is an outrage which we will not accept. We need comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship for the undocumented. Now, I think the reason that our campaign is doing well is that we are touching a nerve in America, and people are responding very strongly. Vast majority of the American people, you could be conservative, progressive, moderate, Democrat, Republican, whatever. Very few people think that it is right that the 20 wealthiest people in this country now own more wealth than the bottom 150 million Americans, half of our people. And when I talk about a rigged economy, I am talking about the fact that one family in this country, the Walton family who owns Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. Does that sound like what America is supposed to be about? And let me tell you something about what a rigged economy means. What a rigged economy means is that the wealthiest family in America, the Walton family, pays wages at Walmart that are so low that many of their employees have to be on Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing. And you know who pays for that Medicaid, food stamps? You do. So on behalf of the wealthiest family in the world, in the United States, worth some $60 billion or so, I want to thank you. They are very appreciative that you are helping to subsidize their company. That was a joke. In fact, of course, it's an outrage. Why should the middle class of this country have to subsidize employees who work for the wealthiest family in America? That's pretty crazy stuff. So I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, start paying your workers a living wage. Now, when we talk about politics in America, you got a lot of Republicans running around the country talking about family values. They love families. You all know what they mean by family values. What they mean is that no woman in this room, in this state, in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they mean is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to get married. I disagree. Now, I know I will not shock anybody when I suggest to you that on occasion there is a bit of hypocrisy in politics. I know you're all shocked to hear that. But in this issue, I think the hypocrisy reaches an all-time high, and this is why. You got Republicans running around this country, and they say, government stinks, government's the source of all evil, we hate government, we're going to cut Social Security, we're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid and the Postal Service because we hate government. But when it comes to a very personal choice that a woman may have to make, they love the government and want the government to make that choice for that woman. That, my friends, is called hypocrisy. When we talk about the need to rebuild the middle class, we are talking about a massive federal jobs programs to put our people back to work. We should be hiring teachers, not firing teachers. Tonight, if my memory is correct, I'm heading to Flint, Michigan. And it's not a meeting that I look forward to because I know what I'm going to hear because I've already spoken to people in Flint. And I spoke quietly to a number of people, and what they told me literally is incomprehensible, that we are seeing what we are seeing in the United States of America in 2016. Thousands of children being poisoned by a broken water system, a poisonous water system. Now, my point is, Flint is maybe the worst example of a collapsing infrastructure, but it is not the only example. We can create millions of good-paying jobs by rebuilding our water systems, our wastewater plants, our roads, our bridges, our airports, our rail systems. The other thing that we have got to do is not only create jobs, because real unemployment in America is close to 10%, not 5%. The other thing we have to do is prevent the continued loss of millions of jobs because of our disastrous trade policies. One of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself is that she supported NAFTA, she supported permanent normal trade relations with China. I helped lead the opposition to those trade agreements. I was right, she was wrong. Look, you don't need, I suppose we have some PhDs in economics here, but you don't need one to understand what these trade policies are about. It's not complicated. You have a large corporation, and right now you're paying a worker in the United States 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour. You got to provide health care. You got to protect environmental legislation and regulations. Why would you want to do that when you could shut down in America, move abroad, pay people pennies an hour, not worry about unions, not worry about the environment, and bring your product back into America? That's what these trade agreements are, nothing more complicated than that. Since 2001, we've lost 60,000 factories in America, a lot of that having to do with disastrous trade agreements. If elected president, we will fundamentally rewrite trade agreements in this country. Corporate America, every night, turn on the TV, they say, buy this product, buy that product. Well, if they want us to buy these products, maybe they better start manufacturing those products in Ohio and America. All of you are aware that as a result of the greed, recklessness, and illegal behavior, Wall Street drove this country into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. That's a fact. We bailed out Wall Street against my vote, but Congress bailed out Wall Street because the big banks were too big to fail, i.e., if they went under, they'd take half of the economy with them. Turns out that today, 3 out of the 4 largest banks are much bigger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. Turns out that the 6 largest banks in America issue 2/3 of the credit cards that you have and write 1/3 of the mortgages. In my view, if Teddy Roosevelt, the great trust buster, were alive today, what he would say, when you have that much concentration of economic and political power, what you have got to do is break them up, and I agree. People often ask me, what, Bernie, is the most important issue? And I can't give you one issue because they're all important, but this I will tell you. There is one issue that impacts all other issues, and that is a corrupt campaign finance system which is undermining American democracy. The Koch brothers, Wall Street, billionaires should not be able to buy elections in the United States of America. Together, we are going to overturn Citizens United. As I said earlier, if this country is to do well economically, we need to have the best educated workforce in the world. And what that means to me right now are 2 major things. Number one, as a nation, we have got to understand that in the year 2016, when we talk about public education, you're not just talking about 1st grade through 12th grade. You have got to understand that a college degree today is in many ways the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 years ago. So we've got to do 2 things. Number one, anybody in this country, regardless of his or her income, I came from a family, didn't have a whole lot of money. Anybody in this country who is smart, does well in school, and is qualified should be able to go to a public college or university tuition free. And second of all, we have got to deal with this crisis of student debt. Anybody here with student debt? All right, we have legislation that will significantly reduce student debt by allowing those with the debt to refinance their loans and get the lowest possible interest rates they can find. I'm a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment and the Senate Committee on Energy. And let me be the first to tell you what